Move over there, plenty of room, yeah, if you want. I see.
Do you maintain a limited number of troops in Syria?
Well, we don't think it's going to be necessary. I don't want to leave troops there. It's very dangerous for, we had 28 troops as it turned out. People said 50, it was 28. And you had an army on both sides of those troops. Those troops would have been wiped out. I don't think it's necessary, other than that we secured the oil. It's in a little different section, but we just secured the oil. And the other region where we've been asked by Israel and Jordan to leave a small number of troops is a totally different section of Syria near Jordan and close to Israel. And that's a totally different section. That's a totally different mindset. So we have a small group there, and we've secured the oil. Other than that, there's no reason for it, in our opinion. And again, the Kurds are going to be watching. We're working with the Kurds. We have a good relationship with the Kurds. But we never agreed to, protect the Kurds. We fought with them for 3.5 to 4 years. We never agreed to protect the Kurds for the rest of their lives. Remember this. When Iraq was fighting the Kurds, everybody thought we were going to fight with the Kurds. I said, well, it's a little strange that we're fighting with the Kurds when we just spent $4 trillion on Iraq, and now we're going to be fighting Iraq. So what I did is I said, we're not going to take a position. Let them fight themselves. I thought the Kurds would do very well. Everyone said, oh, the Kurds will do very well. Well, Iraq moved in and the Kurds left. They didn't fight because they didn't have us to fight with. A lot of people are good when they fight with us. When you have $10 billion worth of airplanes shooting 10 miles in front of your line, it's much easier to fight. But with that, they were a good help, but we were a great help to them too. They were fighting ISIS. They hated ISIS. So they were fighting ISIS. But we never agreed. Where's an agreement that said we have to stay in the Middle East for the rest of humanity, for the rest of civilization, to protect the Kurds? It never said that. And we have protected them. We've taken very good care of them. And I hope they're going to watch over ISIS, because that's, again, most of it's not in the safe zone, as we call it. Some places called demilitarized zone. In the old days, we'd call areas like this a demilitarized zone. And our relationship with the Kurds is good, and they're going to be safe. And I will say this, if shooting didn't start for a couple of days, I don't think the Kurds would have moved. I don't think, frankly, you would have been able to make a very easy deal with Turkey. I think when it started for a few days, it was so nasty that when we went to Turkey and when we went to the Kurds, they agreed to do things that they never would have done before the shooting started. If they didn't go through 2.5 days of hell, I don't think they would have done it. I think you couldn't have made a deal. And people have been trying to make this deal for years. But we're close to making it. We'll see what happens. Again, they've been fighting for 300 years that we know of. 300 years. So why should we put our soldiers in the midst of two large groups, hundreds of thousands potentially of people that are fighting? I don't think so. The economy's good. We're doing well with getting out finally after 10 years. Again, 30 days to 10 years. We're having very good news coming out. The ceasefire is holding. The Kurds are moving out to safer areas beyond the safe zone, as we call it. Having a safe zone is not a bad thing, it's a good thing. And plenty of Turks have been killed because of conflict on their border. So, you have to look at it both ways. But the ceasefire is absolutely holding. There's some skirmishes, but very little, relatively speaking. Of course, if you watch the fake news, it's like pretty wild. It's really holding. I've watched these pundits that have been working on this thing for 20 years. They've been working on the Middle East for 20 years. They don't know what they're doing, and they're telling me what to do. They're saying, what did Trump get out of it? What did he get out of it? I'll tell you what I get out of it. We won't be fighting, and we'll bring our soldiers back home. They were supposed to be there for 30 days, and they've been there now for 10 years in Syria. 10 years. They were supposed to go in, do a quick hit on ISIS, and come out. Now, as far as ISIS is concerned, when I took over, November 2016, ISIS was all over the place. I'm the one, meaning it was me and this administration, working with others, including the Kurds, that captured all of these people that you're talking about right now. Because President Obama, it was a mess. And I was told, and you were told, and everybody told, it would be years before you ever did what I did in about a month and a half after I started. I went over to Iraq, I met with our generals, then we figured out a plan, and it was done within a month and a half. So I'm the one that did the capturing. I'm the one that knows more about it than you people or the fake pundits. And we're getting out. None of our people are injured. It's going to probably work. But if it doesn't work, you're going to have people fighting like they've been fighting for 300 years. It's very simple. It's really very simple. But we're going to bring our soldiers back home. So far, there hasn't been one drop of blood shed during this whole period by an American soldier. Nobody was killed. Nobody cut their finger. There's been nothing. And they're leaving. Rather, I think, not expeditiously, rather intelligently, just leaving certain areas, leaving. We've secured the oil. If you remember, I didn't want to go into Iraq. I was a civilian, so I had no power over it, but I always was speaking against going into Iraq. It was not a great decision. But I always said, if you're going in, keep the oil. Same thing here, keep the oil. We want to keep the oil. And we'll work something out with the Kurds so that they have some money, they have some cash flow. Maybe we'll get one of our big oil companies to go in and do it properly. But they'll have some cash flow, which they basically don't have right now. Everybody's fighting. It's not a big oil area, but everybody's fighting for whatever there is.